Dysfunctional fitness. You know, the fitness industry is rather dysfunctional. So first off, update on me. I'm still sick. Fun. And now I'm losing my hair because they put me on massive doses of benesinide, which my hair is falling out in clumps. So that's fun. Anyways, all right. So here's something I want to point out to you guys, and this is actually pretty important. A lot of these popular influencers, if you listen to them, what they're suggesting and what they say that they do, a lot of these things, and I'm not a psychologist, I'm not making a diagnosis here, but they sure sound like an eating disorder. You know, I was listening, I don't want to call people out by name, and I'm not going to make a diagnosis because I'm not a psychologist, I'm not seeing them, they're not my patient or something. But, you know, there was a certain individual who's a very popular researcher. Everyone's very, very familiar with this individual. And I was listening to him on a podcast, and he was talking about how he eats nothing but Greek yogurt. Like, as in he doesn't eat anything else. He just eats fat-free Greek yogurt. And, you know, he was saying that sometimes he puts in some, like, artificial flavoring and stuff like that, you know, to flavor it, like, you know, Mio or something. But he doesn't eat any fruits or vegetables. He doesn't eat any meat. It's just fat-free Greek yogurt. That's all he eats. And there's another individual who's very popular in the fitness industry. He has a lot of subscribers on his YouTube channel. And sure enough, he said the same thing. He was like, oh yeah, well, you know, when I'm cutting, I just eat nothing but fat-free Greek yogurt. So it's 0 grams of fat diet with relatively low carbs because Greek yogurt doesn't have a lot of carbs in it. And it's basically just protein. So yeah, you know, he was explaining though that, you know, when he's not dieting, you know, he tends to binge on junk food. And there's another individual who was another very popular person who's been around for a long time, and you know, he was talking about how he can't control himself around food, and so you know he goes off the rails and gets really fat, and then he has to do extreme things to diet, like eating nothing but egg whites. Folks, this is not normal. This is not healthy. This is actually quite dysfunctional. Okay. So, you know, we look to these individuals as, I don't know, gurus, experts, whatever. And then you hear what they do, and it's like, what the? You know, it's like I've tried pointing out to you guys about some of these popular guys that talk about training even, and they talk about how they train 3 and 4 hours a day. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing them for training 3 to 4 hours a day. I used to train even more. I mean, it was ridiculous. I've talked about this in the past. You know, I saved up for 2 years, quit my job, and then I trained full-time leading up to leaving for the Navy. And you know, I was running 100 to 120 miles a week. I was, you know, swimming 50 to 60 miles a week. This is a short-term thing. I did it on purpose. I planned this out. Okay, that's why I spent 2 years saving up money before quitting my job to do this thing full time before leaving. But you know, like if that's your full-time job, that's your full-time job. Like you won't hear me criticize that. So, you know, these guys talk about how they train 3 and 4 hours a day, and that's what they do. Okay. The problem with that though is they act like that's what you should be doing too. Who has time for that? No one has time for that. No one has time to do that. I got away with that because I was, what, 27? I was 27. No kids, no wife, no nothing, no responsibilities. Yes, that worked. Now I'm in my 40s. If I was to go to the gym for 4 or 5 hours, my wife would be like, where the fuck have you been? I have other things I have to do. Like, I have other responsibilities. Most of us have a job, unless you're independently wealthy. So there goes 8 hours of your day just being at your job, not including your commute. Commute's fun. Sometimes I have to drive, 5 miles, and I get stuck in traffic. It takes a half hour to get there. I'm like, I could have run this faster. That happens. Sometimes you get held up at work. Sometimes you go to the pharmacy to fill your script and you get stuck waiting in line. How much time do you guys spend cooking? Do you make dinner? Make your own dinner? I timed it out one day. I figured out that it takes me something like 30 minutes to make my meals. I spend 30 minutes a day cooking. That's insane. And then if you stop and think about how much time I spend eating, it's like 2 hours and 30 minutes of my day spent on food. And that's including everything. So that's not just the cooking part. That's the, cleaning up and washing dishes and all that stuff like that on top of, so you prepare food, you eat food, and then you have to clean up afterwards. It's like 2.5 hours of my day. These guys that work out for 4 hours a day, do you still live with your mom? I was in a unique situation where I had a fantastic support system. I had a girlfriend at the time who was very, very supportive and took care of practically everything so I could focus on training full time. Okay. I do point this out to people all the time. If you want to pursue something extreme, you had better have a good support system. Everyone likes to talk about the value of hard work. Alex Hormozy, hard work, hard work, hard work. And it's like these people fail to recognize that the support system of having a dad who's a multimillionaire, world-renowned plastic surgeon from Baltimore, multimillionaire dad, that's a big support system. A lot of us don't have that. Bill Gates, his parents set him up. Jeff Bezos, his dad gave him $300,000 to start a business. Oh no, it's just hard work. I guarantee there's some guy out there who grew up in a trailer park or the projects who works harder than you do, but he didn't have any support system. Right. So anyways, off on a tangent here, back to these influencers. A lot of them are very dysfunctional, though, in their behaviors. They talk about their binge eating. They talk about basically starving themselves. I can't remember who it was, and it doesn't matter, because if I could remember, I wouldn't name them anyways. There was some person who was talking about how he goes on these crazy binges for like 3 and 4 days, and then he goes like 3 or 4 days without eating. He just fasts. There's a certain individual who's very popular on Instagram. He posts his cheat meals all the time. He apparently has these massive binging cheat meals. I've heard him on podcasts talk about how he'll eat over 10,000 calories of junk food. At least one day a week, he just sits down and eats 10 to 12,000 calories of junk food, like donuts and things like that. This is binge eating disorder. At least that's what it looks like. Like I said, I'm not making a diagnosis because I'm not their doctor. I'm not their psychologist. I'm not sitting down and evaluating this patient. But boy, when you tell me these things, it sure sounds like binge eating disorder. And some of these things sound like bulimia. I'm going to eat all this junk and then I'm going to fast for 3 or 4 days while I work out like crazy. Some of these things sound like anorexia or some type of weird starvation thing. I only eat fat-free Greek yogurt. Right. So what I want to point out to you guys is maybe don't listen so closely and stop worshiping some of these gurus and these influencers, because it's very evident that what they're doing is not it's not mentally healthy. It's not a mentally healthy approach to fitness. People would be shocked by how much food I eat. I eat a ton of food. I never restrict. The only thing I'm restricted by is I can't afford more food. Because if I could, I would eat more. And that's like one of those weird things, guys. Like, these people, I think they're actually under, this is me being sympathetic, I think they're under a lot of pressure to maintain an appearance. And I think that that's unfortunate because I think that at some point it starts to warp people's minds. It's like 15% body fat. In the fitness industry, if you were 15% body fat, you're fat. You know, I'm like 12 or 13% right now, and people tell me that I'm fat. I don't care because I'm not a bodybuilder, and I'm certainly not going to compete in men's bikini. But like the fitness industry is weird. That's why I stick to strength and conditioning. And I realize that a lot of times there's overlap with the fitness industry, unfortunately. And the thing is here, guys, like a lot of these people in the fitness industry, they are projecting an image. And that image is everything because marketing is everything. And so I think that that tends to lead to really unreasonable expectations, which then also leads to really unhealthy behaviors to maintain those appearances. So that's what I have for you guys. The fitness industry is very, very dysfunctional. And I think that's unfortunate. I actually feel bad for these people. And I have nothing but sympathy. But I'm also warning you to not listen too closely to them. Because if you followed their advice, you would find yourself in a very bad place.